Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Printing's Alive, the podcast with me, Warren Werbitt, your host. And today we have another special guest. This guest is so special. Why? Because of the importance of what she does. She helps print companies, label companies, packaging companies, and anybody in the world to print that needs some help. And she does a lot of imposition and finishing automation. We have Julie Watson from Ultimate Tech. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I love that t-shirt. Keep calm and print on. Except if it was an Ultimate Tech t-shirt, I would say keep calm and automate.
Well, guess what? We're going to come out with a t-shirt like that. And if you want, you can come and buy it from me.
Of
That'll be
course. I'll buy
perfect.
6. I'll even buy 6 or 20 even.
Everybody, you heard it. That's recorded. It will not be erased. I will have a t-shirt for you. Send me your logo in 24 hours.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Appreciate the sale. Always good when you start off your day and you make a sale before you've done anything else. So that's the eternal salesperson in me. So Julie, without wasting time, tell us about you. Tell us how you got into imposition and finishing automation. It's, not the norm. And what the company does.
Of course, I get this question often because it's very niche. So, it piques curiosity. How did you get there? Well, first of all, the company's been around since 1989, and actually before the launch of our solution, ImpoStrip, there was no using computers to do the imposition process. It was all manual stripping films, and they were actually called strippers. So for those who have been in the industry for a long time know it. Younger people don't, and you might wonder why you would call them strippers, but it was actually a professional title. That's not what you think. It was actually arranging the pages on the film. Now, the imposition process being brought onto a computer allowed also for direct to plate to be facilitated, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, we've been in the industry for a long time. The industry has changed a lot. Technology has changed a lot. But one of the key things and why we've been around for 38 years is because we always focused on innovation and thinking about what's next. And that's no different than how we got into finishing automation. We started this in 2008. And, to be honest, finishing is about imposition. If you print it right, you will be able to finish it right. But you have finishing constraints that you take into account when you build your imposition. So all of this extension into finishing really made sense for our company and where our technology sits. And that's how we started the journey basically in this direction.
Wow. Yeah. So when I had my company, the automation was all new and all the JDF stuff and all those more acronyms and right. It just goes on and on and on. And then to me, I didn't even know how to, pronounce all the letters in the alphabet even, let alone do all of that. But, I think I used to think also, and I'm jumping ahead from where I wanted to go, but I used to think always that it was more for the bigger companies, right? Because I used to think automation, imposition, software, super expensive, got to have a lot of money. Then I think about my MIS system and all the aggravation, the headaches that I went through with that, or any software for that matter. Unless you're a software person, it could be a little frustrating. Is it for every company? Is it for every size?
Yes, the answer is yes. In our world, it is because we've created software packages that are modular. So you can start with a more entry-level solution. You can ease into the automation. And as your company grows, you can move into more automation and a scalable approach. So it's better to start early because, automating jobs means removing repetitive tasks. The staff doesn't want to do this repetitive task. They're much more valuable than doing repetitive tasks. They can actually do creative tasks. They can do more value added tasks. They can build more of the business. They can go after customers. They can do so much other than, what is repetitive. So using or leveraging the software to automate this is really key to, profitability at the end of the day.
So absolutely profit margins. I just want to ask one question. When we talk about the people, when you go into companies, how open are the people you're dealing with, not the owner? how, because he's obvious, he or she is actually thinking about the end result, the profit, moving things quicker, the jobs going out, the customers being happy. But the people inside, how do they embrace the software change and the time it takes to get there?
I think that's evolving. And the reason I'm saying this
Good
is,
start. Good start to your answer, by the way. I wasn't expecting that.
but it is actually, and actually, to categorize the owner and the team, um, yes, but I've seen the teams being advocates of the automation, the owner being reluctant because they don't understand technology. I've seen this also. I've also
Love
seen
that.
the owner wanting to promote automation because they understand that they want to do more with what they have, and the team being reluctant because they don't understand necessarily the technology. However, nowadays, I mean, one of the critical problems all the printers face is staffing. I mean, there's staff shortages. We're wondering, what's the next generation coming into the print market? Everybody's asking themselves, how are we going to train new staff, etc. This is a common critical problem, and in fact, I think now in this moment technology is going to solve this. It can solve this, by using the technology to automate certain tasks. You're also allowing your current staff, to have more time, and could even to have more time to train somebody new, and so on and so forth. So it could be part of the solution. And I think that's a way to look at it. Also, if you want to attract the young generations into a print shop, I think they're much more attracted to technology, even in the shop floor, in production, in pre-press. They definitely don't want to do the repetitive tasks. Young people nowadays, right?
I don't want to do repetitive tasks,
Exactly.
right?
So you can imagine nobody does. That's the reality. So why not automate them, right?
Oh, listen, you know what you said about technology and young people, I've been saying it for a long time. The press rooms, you're not getting ink on your hands anymore because you've got ink in canisters. The front of an offset press is like a video game because you're watching the sheet go from the feeder through the camera, the scanners, through the cylinders, the ink, and right through the dryer. Finishing, it's got 200 presets for the folds that you want to do, and so forth for all the equipment. So I think it's great for young people coming in because it's not the old days of print when you were dirty, like a mechanic, right? Even mechanics today, everybody's wearing gloves. It's kind of changed that nobody wants to go home dirty, but I do think that it's a great thing. What size are your customers in terms of sales volume from the here to the here?
Yeah, it really varies. So we will have some really smaller shops that have, one or two presses, and they want to start automating their jobs, being able to just simply drag and drop PDFs into the system and it automatically imposing, for example. And then you move on upwards to full on large operation, multiple sites, producing, 10,000 different orders every day, for example, and so on and so forth. So the range is there. I think the main key message is that we do one thing, right? Imposition and finishing. And for this, we're the experts. So what I would say to printers is, if you're not already automating your imposition process, or your finishing, you don't know how, you don't know what to do. What I liked about your podcast is you said, well, I'm there to help printers. Well, in that same spirit, on your podcast, I'm saying we're here to help printers. So if you don't know how to start, you can call us, and we're happy to take the time, talk about what are the options, and then you decide what you want to do, how you want to do it. No obligations, just reach out to us. And every print shop is different, and what we realize is every trying to cookie cutter print shops doesn't work neither. So our solution is really like a toolbox, right, that can tailor into the company's business model, the type of customers they want to do, and also their workflow, the type of press, the type of finishing, the combination, the order. It's all different. And you can basically modularize and work with our software to fit into that and automate it. We're not going to come out and say, here's how we work, implement this to your shop, adhere to the way the software works, and it'll work. So that's when you say, software can be a pain sometimes, is because you're trying to make the software, fit to the software versus making the software fit to your environment. So I think that's a really important thing. You have to know your processes, know your environment, and then see how the software fits into this.
Couldn't agree more. When I remember when we were putting in a MIS system, and I mean, software is never perfect, so you always got to work through the bugs, but you don't stop and wait for the bug to be fixed. You keep going. But I remember when we did an MIS change, I almost had a mutiny because people wanted to kill me, because people just don't like change, even if they know, this is the crazy part, even if they know that it's going to better them and give them more time after to do, excuse me, something else. They still flog the system and cause delays. So no, I like what you said. So, okay, so I want to take a scenario. Um, I'm a print company. I'm not the biggest. I'm close to, I'm small, medium. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a ton of people. I know about automation. I know about software technology, but I'm a little nervous. How are you going to sell me? I'm that nervous shape. No, because the truth is, when I say I want to help people understand the process. I want people to hear what they're thinking maybe is not wrong. They're allowed to be uptight. They're allowed to have the heart flutter when they hear how much something costs or how long it takes. But someone who doesn't know, because that's probably your best customer when you get them in and then they see and then they start to go and then they build and they buy more modules from you only because they're benefiting their business. Little plug for you. But how do you take the print owner coming in that doesn't know, that's nervous, stuck in the old ways, and convert them to start to see the light and want to take small baby steps before they go bigger?
That's an excellent question. And in fact, I'll answer that in three parts.
Okay, good. Take your time. We have to fill some space. Don't talk fast. No, no.
So the first thing you said is, what is the cost, right? And that to me is it's definitely a question already that piques my motivation to answer just that to start, and then we'll get back to what
And
what
and
the
I,
process is.
right, and I ask that because unfortunately, too many people want to know the price tag of something, not even in print, everywhere in life, before they know the benefits of what might be.
Exactly, and that's what I was gonna say. Often people, even here, like, I understand print owners. I'm running a business too. I understand the decision making for business, and one of the first questions that most business owners, and I'm no different, you want to know how much something costs, and that's completely natural. You want to know, okay, is this in scope? Am I, can I afford it? All of this. I get it. But you also have to ask yourself, what is it going to generate? Because those expenses in a business can be two things. They can be an expense and a pure expense, or it can be an investment. And, I think software can be an investment if it's done right. And you have to take a look at what is it going to bring in. It's kind of like marketing, or even if you like invest in finance, right? The first thing they're going to say is, you're thinking about what it's going to bring in a certain amount of time. Same thing for marketing. So many times in my previous life, when we were talking about marketing campaigns, it was always about how much it costs and not necessarily how much it's going to bring in. So now when somebody comes to me internally and says, we need this solution, or we think we should do this, and they tell me, this is how much it's going to cost. Do you agree? I immediately stop and say, I cannot make a decision. I cannot make a decision based on how much something is going to cost. I need to know, what is it going to do for me? What is it going to do for the business? What is it going to do for our customers? And so I really think print service providers need to think that way also, in the future, and more specifically about software. So that's for one. Second, of that, what is the sales process like here? We don't view it, our role, as in necessarily selling it to the customer. We view our role as facilitating, the purchase, meaning that if we answer all the customers' questions, the solution does what they need. It's at a price point that fits, right? Fits because we have entry level to higher end. Then it becomes a no-brainer, right? So we're not necessarily going to tell the customer, you have to buy, you have to buy tomorrow. We're going to say, what do you want to do? What's your workflow? We can do a demo. We can do a proof of concept. Technically viable solution, yes. Commercially, here's what's the approach. How does it fit in? And then we work with the customer. So they don't have to be nervous. At no point in time should they feel kind of any kind of
Pain.
reason why they shouldn't reach out to us. And more importantly, sometimes we feel customers wait too long. They think that there's no solution out there that can help them. And this is true story. We start doing demos, right? And sometimes, thanks to technology and the cameras, you can see customer reaction. And sometimes we're amazed at how shocked customers are. We're looking at a demo of our software and saying, it does all this? And this is what I say: get a demo. You have no idea how
Get a
much technology
life. Get a life.
how much software or technology can help you. And this is a real story, and I'll end that with one last example. So at a recent show, we had a customer walk by the booth. He saw our signage. He says, oh, you guys do imposition nesting. Well, in my world, all of this is up here. Obviously, it's a small shop, very hands-on. I'm sure he's very skilled and very good at what he does.
Probably not, by the way, just saying.
And so I said, well, that's great. I'm not going to question the fact that you're really good at doing that imposition and nesting yourself. But imagine if the software automated it for you, all the amount of time you would save. And he's like, yeah, but I don't trust that it's going to make the calculation. And I said, well, why don't you test it? By testing it, you're going to see if the results are acceptable to you. And just imagine, instead of doing these repetitive tasks every day, you can actually grow your business. And this customer just looked at me and responded, I never thought about it that way. So I think this is key to your answer, meaning that if you call us, we present it to you. One, you'll be shocked what technology can do. And two, we're going to put it in perspective in such a way that you'll think, this is a no-brainer. Why didn't I do this 10 years ago? But the good news is you can do it today. So do it.
Yeah. So you're really kind in when you describe some printers and stuff. We got a lot of bloody idiots in this industry. We got a lot of people that probably shouldn't be in this industry. The slow to move, we are the slowest. I know when they have the tortoise in the hare and the tortoise gets there at the end, eventually. Well, in the world of print, we don't have time to show up last. Right? When you show up last, you're done. You've probably been losing money forever. The individual who says it's up here probably had a lobotomy, right? Because today you can't have it. I don't remember what I did yesterday, right? Let alone the right way to do something when you're doing 1,000 jobs. So those are people, I think, that just skate a little bit more out of fear. But since AI was brought to the forefront 2.5 years ago, even though it's been around for a lot longer, but now the average person now knows what it is. The fear of technology has to disappear. Period. Right? And when the cost is, you actually said it because I was biting my tongue because I wanted to jump in, but I'm practicing not doing that anymore as I mature. It has to only be looked at as an investment, right? I was just talking with a couple people who needed some help with their business, and I went in and did whatever it is I did. I danced around and all that other stuff. And then when I sat down to present them with the proposal, they looked at it and they went, oh, if we do that, then we're not going to have the same profit this year. And I said, okay. I said, leaving this aside, I said, what other investment have you made in your business in the last few years to improve it? None. I said, well, if you think you're going to maintain those profits without making any investment and updating anything, be it just people skills, technology, and position, you're going to be in trouble in a few years, right? So the starting too late is not a good thing anymore. You have to jump on it. And I think in our industry that the people have to immediately acknowledge what they should be doing. So when I remember when I think back to when I used to look at competitors and what they charged. Two things to that. Now I say never look at your competitor. It doesn't matter. Focus on what you do, what you need to charge in order to maintain your business. But I also learned when you're looking at your competitor, which you shouldn't, and you're wondering how do they get that price? Well, guess what? If they're automated, they now have the ability to tweak their price a little bit because you don't want to give away your full savings, right? But tweak it a little bit, and you could talk from a competitive advantage because of the technology. And it doesn't sound like a cockamamie story, right? When you're trying to explain how you lowered your price or why it's a little different. So,
And
oh,
I mean, it's all about doing more with the equipment and the team that you have in place. I mean, imagine if you could ship, 30% more jobs in one day. That's 30% more revenue you're going to make each day. That's a huge difference on the bottom line. And customers who are automating imposition and finishing, and automating finishing doesn't necessarily mean, a whole bindery department. It could just be your cutter. Just every printer has a cutter. Let's start by automating, the cutter and the cutting and stacking and then as you go on, you realize that you can get a lot more. Also, you're standardizing the quality. Also what happens, it was COVID recently. It wasn't that far away. And you don't know when somebody can get sick, a flu, whatever, you know, it protects you also from being able to continue production, right? Even in a scaled down team. And in fact, we've noticed a big shift in the industry towards automation during COVID. And that should maintain, right? Because those factors are maintained in the future. Lack of skills, et cetera.
lack of
Not
skills,
lack of skills, but lack of
lack of
finding
people, right?
people with
And
skills.
that's like I'm trying to make a number sign, but that's
Yeah.
like number one with it, right? The other thing I want to just say to people, like, everybody's got this fear thing about technology, AI, and losing jobs and whatever. Um, I think people should just like kind of maybe, well, if you're a writer, maybe, but if you're involved in other things, maybe not worry about it because other jobs will be created because of it, right? Even as I use AI, it's great for a few things, but if you don't know, you don't know, and you don't know to trust it that it is actually 100% right. So people should just jump on this technology wagon and go. The other thing is, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you see more than I do, but there's not as many shops running 24/7 as they used to. That game has changed also, right? Because of the skilled labor or lack of. So what does automation do? It helps you produce more quicker when you know what you're doing and it's set up properly. That you don't need to have that third shot, that third shift.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, when we do customer testimonial, what I find interesting is, obviously, as an automation company, we often talk about productivity, enhanced profits, et cetera, et cetera. But what has come out of some of those customer testimonials was more than that. It was also employee retention, because now they were less stressed out, because and higher quality, because they could review or spend more time ensuring quality versus getting the work out the door. So there's like a whole range of benefits we rarely talk about, but this I think is actually key. Employee retention nowadays is key. And so I think automation and software is part of that. And I also think that sometimes people shy away from automating everything because they don't necessarily understand it, right? Or they hear something like JDF and they think, "Oh, what is JDF? I need to know. It's too complicated." And this is why this is why I tell people, just call us. We know what all of this is. You don't need to know. We'll do it for you. You just need the software to automate. We'll handle the complexity. We'll train your team, and it's not as complicated as it seems. You want to produce more, you want to automate. If you know at least that, you're ready to start. You don't need to have a doctorate degree in anything to automate nowadays. And this
Yeah,
is why the big team, the big printers started, because they have big development teams who, can understand all of this and code all of that. But they ended up, some of them having very custom workflows, legacy workflows that are difficult to maintain. So these companies are also turning into towards specialty software vendors such as ourselves for certain pieces, certain models, because time is money, right? While you're developing something, you cannot develop something else. And so dealing with best in class solutions and putting them together makes sense for companies of any size. But coming back to smaller companies, it's not because you don't have a whole team of developers internally that you can't automate. Nowadays, you have plenty of solutions that are plug and play. You have vendors such as ourselves that integrate into other solutions or facilitates it with a range of tools that really it's much more accessible than printers think. So, I would say definitely as a 2026 New Year's resolution, look into it. So talk to people around you, call our team anytime, or
Yeah,
even call
no,
me directly. No problem.
the fear of not knowing. First of all, labor and people are number one, and I don't care what anybody else says because that's all I hear from people. Everybody's estimators are 55, 60 years old, and who's 25, 30 that wants to be a print estimator? I mean, thank God for AI now. That'll help speed things up, right? But it's the fear of I guess the unknown. But for like so, and I want to stay on the small medium because I think that that's a huge market out there that could really use some help, right? Um, what are a couple little things that maybe some of these smaller owners should think about? Low hanging fruit, let's call it. That just came to me. That they could, if they look around the shop, that would immediately give them something to go, that you know what, that's okay. Let's look at that.
Yeah, so I think one of the key things would be, if we're looking at pre-press, is looking at, okay, where's the pre-press tool sitting? So if the pre-press tool is sitting in front of the DFEs, what it can do is it can drive multiple of the DFEs. So you have a single solution driving your range of devices. You have one solution to learn, one solution to maintain, low hanging fruit, right? Second to that is looking at using a dynamic approach where you don't want to create a fixed setup for every job that goes through your shop floor. It's not because it's a different size that you need to manually create a new setup. If you're using smart software, all of this is done automatically and seamlessly. So, in fact, you can accept more work, more variety of work without having to spend time doing some configurations. So I think that's a low hanging fruit. And I would say, in terms of post press, start looking at what you can automate. If there's a full list of devices we automate on our website. But and if you're not sure, again, we can validate, but you can start automating the first step after the press. That's the first step. And I think shipping is also an area where you could use tools where there's a lot of automation. I mean, that's not anything we have to offer, but it's we don't have shipping software, but it's definitely an area where you can save a lot of time if you can optimize and group by shipping. And then you can also automate the order entry of files, which is another low hanging fruit. So making sure that how your orders come in flow into your workflow with the least amount of manual steps. I think that can also be a big time saving.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to go back to the money for a second because I know people are probably sitting there and going, yeah, they just went around and they talked about all this other stuff. And so I'm a smallish company, medium company, right? I want to speed up some imposition. I want to do some file entry coming in better, everything that you just talked about. Like realistically, what kind of money or little money are we talking about? Is it a 2 grand, 5 grand, 10, 15, or 20 or more? Do you need a dedicated person in your place, or is it something because that's, smaller shops? Is it something that's you integrate with them on a smaller level that it's easier for people to comprehend? Like, where I'm going with this, right? Like, and
Yeah.
because what I want people to do is I want people not to be afraid to call you right off the bat. And I want them to be able to think, okay, that's the price, but I could just add up that I did 2,000 orders this year and I'm going to save $5 on an order and I just saved $10,000 and I haven't done a thing. Like, I want people to think and think quickly when they're doing calculations, not go backwards.
Yeah, you can get started with entry level automation for less than a cup of coffee a day, and that's the reality. How much is a cup
Sorry,
of coffee?
question. Where are you drinking your coffee?
Just a regular coffee
Like a
place.
McDonald's coffee or Starbucks? There's a difference now. And I'm not trying. I'm trying to be funny, but
McDonald's.
okay, good. Tim Hortons is one lower. No, okay, but I got the idea. That's good.
McCafe.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, it's less than a coffee a day, and you can get started with automation. 3 hours of online training, or even less. Sometimes we can even, with the entry level, do 1 or 2 hours, and customers are ready to go. And you do not need a dedicated person. In fact, it's the contrary. We want to take that person that is dedicated and have them do something else. So what the software does, it's a set it and forget it, right? So the customers tell us this day in, day out. They come to our booth and they say, I never look at your software. And I'm like, I know, it's okay, because that's the proof that we do our work well, because you set it, you configure it, and you forget it, because then what it does is day in, day out, it's going to get those jobs out and you won't have to do anything. So no, you do not need a dedicated, trained person to operate the software. It operates itself.
I'm in. Sign me up.
Do you have a credit card number?
Uh,
We can trade 20 t-shirts against
fine.
get some
Done. Done.
software. No, I'm
Done.
kidding.
Done. You know what? I was actually just thinking that if you wanted, I would even come and you could put me through that 3 hour training and show me, and then we could do something else after to show people how easy it is, because it's not my job. Like, it's not what I do. It's not what I know. But if I were able to do that, that would probably help. I'm willing to do actually anything to help, print owners and people within the company get ahead. It just frustrates me to see what we as an industry are doing, or what we do for the rest of the world and the business world, and how great it is. And then I'm frustrated because of what we don't do for our own world, and how we sit around and everybody kind of gets beat up or beats themselves up or try to beats up the competitor, whoever. And I really just want to push people to try to make the call, to make the effort. As I'm doing this, I'll tell you, as I'm doing this t-shirt shop, I went on and I built it myself. Okay. That is this much above my pay grade. I know nothing about meta tags and descriptions and designs on t-shirts, and 300 hours. When they tell you that you could do a store in 5 minutes, they lied. Maybe if you have one item. When you have 150, do so. The fact that I was able to do that, the fact that I was able to concentrate and make it happen and then open it, I'm kind of a little feeling that within the print industry, I want to push everybody to do the uncomfortable and make it happen, because when you get over that hurdle, the inside feeling that you have for accomplishment, and then there's the benefit of the business doing better, the margins getting better, the people being happier, the people staying. Not only do people stay, but people tell other people how cool your company is, right?
Exactly. And it's just, somebody told me recently, it's the difference between working in the business and on the business. I think, as a larger company, you will have more strategic roles. So you have people who are spending their time thinking about
Correct.
strategy all the time. In a small business, it's not necessarily the case, right? You're working in the business a lot of the time as well. So it's worth to do like offsites with the team. This is a classic management suggestions, right? Management strategies. So it's offsites, brainstorming. What is the strategy? If you're at this point in your company and you want to go there, how are you going to go there? And
The
I
culture,
think, I'm
building the
sorry?
culture, building the culture.
Building the culture, building the strategy, and then looking at how, okay, if I want to get here and I know I need to do, automation or tracking or KPIs or anything that you want to implement, then you have to break it down into little steps and execute it. But what happens is that small business owners often find themselves so busy just getting the stuff done that they forget to do this. And now, and actually, I like the timing of this podcast. We're close to Christmas. It's close to the end of the year. Peak season will finally get past, and then it's the start of the new year. It's the time. Now's the time to sit with the team and start planning a strategy about, improving the business. And I think that's really, really, really important. There's a lot of challenges. A lot of the customers are facing all kinds of challenges, rising costs, etc. And all the talking to customers, the feedback that we get, as well as all the reports in the industry, points to one key trend right now, and it's doing more with what you have. And there's definitely tracking the KPIs is one, but if you want to improve those KPIs, you definitely have to automate. So automation, whether you like it or not, it's definitely more than a theme and a trend. It's actually something that has to happen.
Oh, it's listen, it's been rolling like that for like the last maybe 10, 15 years where it's kind of elevated. I remember when we put a press in and we did the it was a really at the time it was a wicked automated everything press, and I went to the team and I was like, "Hey, let's get us a JDF workflow done that we can connect it with everything else," and spent, I don't know, 5, 10, $15,000 back then to do it all, only to find out that not everybody was connectable to JDF.
Yeah.
Right? Like I went out there because I wanted to be the leading cutting edge. And then I learned that like when you want something new, it's expensive to be the first person,
Yeah,
right?
and not,
Because you're
it's true
learning
that
and you don't
several
need to
years
be.
ago, also, not all the equipment was JDF enabled, and we've worked with a lot of vendors to go in this direction. Our finishing automation solution is an agnostic solution, right? And it's meant to bring together under this one umbrella of automation devices from different vendors, and that has its level of complexity. And what we've seen through the years is a lot more devices being JDF enabled, and this is only increasing. It's becoming more and more important, and that end customer at the end of the day is requesting it. So the entire industry has no choice to go into this direction to achieve this automation. And when we're talking about full automation, we're also talking about robotics, right? So as you're putting some elements of robotics into your facility, some of them will do a very repetitive movement, but these robots won't be able to set up the device. These robots won't be able to look and at a sheet that says perfect bound
No
size
quality
whatever and
control.
punch it in,
Right.
right? So this has to be data driven, and then the robotics will complete by doing that one manual step. So going towards at least having the data driven workflow to the finishing is step one. Once this is done, you can look at implementing even more automation. And if you wait and then you want to get into full automation, that step is going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And the investment will become bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's better to start little now and start automating as much as possible, and then you will get there, but in a progressive manner. So for smaller businesses, I think that progression is really, really important, and it's doable. So I would definitely suggest to go in this direction.
Yeah, no, I think so what would be the smallest shop that we're talking to? Just to put in perspective for people listening, and then from there, anything above it is good.
Well, what is the smallest print shop that you know? Give me an example of what is the smallest print shop you've ever seen.
One guy with the one digital press.
You can imposition, automate automation. We're talking about so much automation.
You're gonna put yourself out of work if you automate automation.
No, but what I mean is, it's not because you have just one press that you should be opening every file and preparing it for printing. In fact, if you have just one press, you most likely are also the designer, also answering the phones, also. So there's no reason you cannot automate. We have some
So
solutions that are as low as a couple $100s, right? So there's no excuse in terms of going towards the automation. And if you can afford a cup of coffee, you can afford software to help you afford 5 cups of coffee.
right.
So there you go.
So let's look at it this way. One person doing everything in their shop goes and spends let's just make it easy, $2,500 for the initial getting into the software, right? That $2,500 for the couple items that they're going to buy, and I'm being a little general because I don't really know all the items, if you had to put a dollar figure on the potential savings of them not imposing 1,000 jobs a year.
How much time is it per job?
Right.
So like, they'll say it's between 5 and 20 minutes, depending on the complexity and it being
So let's go.
interrupted and
Let's
whatever.
go with 15 minutes because he's also answering, or she's answering the phone, drinking a coffee, getting a snack, and listening to the doorbell. So
Hmm.
they never really do it in a straight 5. So 1,000 jobs at 15 minutes, 15,000 minutes. Now I got to get a calculator, but
So there's the savings in time, but there's
right,
also the saving in material. So having smart imposition often makes you also save material, put more items on a
right,
sheet, place them, more intelligently. Uh, instead of doing a single job per imposition, you can do multiple jobs per imposition.
right,
And now we're talking about really the starter gate. But if you go all the way to
right.
even continuous feed, high speed printing, there's all kinds of methods where imposition is also saving a lot of paper waste. The finishing automation saves printed paper waste, so that saving is
Is
just like
right, but
exponentially
I want to talk
growing.
to the printer whose brain doesn't go that far to start, right? And you know the people I'm talking about. But 15,000 hours, no, 15,000 minutes is, I don't know, it's a lot of hours. I just did, see, my brain, I can't even remember. I just did the calculation. I don't want to look again, but at the end of it, times by equals could be 12,500 to $15,000 of savings just on that 15 minutes per job.
And time is not just what the time costs, right? The general economic rule is that time is the time cost plus what you're not doing during that amount of time. So, think about all the additional added value, the
Right.
services that you can sell, the
Oh,
customers you can call. So then that double that, right?
I'm just trying to go with the time because the average person listening isn't taking in yet all those other savings that you mentioned. They're stuck on the beginning. They're stuck on the getting over the price.
Mhm.
So you're going to spend the cup. I want the people listening to listen. You're going to save one, no, you're going to spend 1 cup of coffee to get your imposition software for the day. But at the end of the day, you could then go buy 15 more cups of coffee, right?
There we go.
For the people that will be working for you in the future when you get busier because you are more automated. Like all the other stuff is great. I just think our industry needs to really double down on the ease and take things in as simplistic as possible for the brains to understand. Because a lot of times I'm listening to software people, OEMs and whatever, and they start to talk too fast. And even though they get excited and it's, let's call it all good, they forget sometimes who they're talking to. And you have to talk a lot slower to printers because we don't move as fast as other people, right? I mean, look how long it take us to get from here to there today. And now automation is really a conversation that happens more often than ever before. It's really all about the flow. And my concern is the amount, the industry is made up of a bigger percentage of smaller, medium printers than bigger. And that's where a lot of people, you guys and other vendors can make a lot of money. We need those print owners to be here in business still so that we can keep doing that. And in order for them to be here, we have to educate first, convince second that they got to make some change.
One of the things that I think also as a software vendor, we could give as feedback to these printers, right? When you're making a decision on software, yes, you want to look at the functionality, but when you're choosing a software company, it's not just the functionality. If you need to look at a company that also offers good support around this, that are actively developing the software, that actually have a vision to where the future is, and then they're actually making investments into that future. Because if you're buying software today and you buy the wrong piece of software, you need to change it. And changing that, if you already are adverse to change, and you're buying something you'll have to change, you're really not helping yourself. So I think those are some of the things sometimes we don't think about. And as a technology company, I could say that that's as important, if not more important, than just the tool you're selecting, right? So I think that's also important, is that the printer talks to the different technology vendors and asks them, when's your next version? What are you planning to put in it? What are you doing as a company? What's your vision for the future? And I think they're going to get a lot more insight than they think. And a lot of times they don't ask those questions necessarily. So I think that would be a helpful, feedback for sure.
Good idea. So you're gonna send me a list of the top 10 questions
Okay,
print owners should be asking their software vendors, and I'm gonna post that because I
perfect.
think and then this is the other thing that just came to mind. When you get excited, and it's very easy to get a printer excited when he sees things and the bells go off and the whistles go off in his head, and then he loses sight of everything else. I've seen too many people go in to a software, an MIS, or whatever you want to call it, and then once they're in, they're terrified to make a switch to leave. There's the terrified because of the cost. There's the terrified to admit that they made a mistake. And then there's the abused client from the software company that didn't do it right, that they're now scared of the software. Right? So I think printers have to really, I think those 10 questions that they ask, and I do the same thing with excuse me, with equipment. Every printer should be asking themselves 5 questions, the 5 questions that they ask. If they can't answer those questions, don't stop the project, but delay it until you can answer those questions, right? Because if you don't answer them and you put it in, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I think that's what I think today there's a better chance of not setting yourself up for failure than there has been in the past. And when you do that, it's beneficial for the company. It's also beneficial for the vendor, right? When you know what you're doing.
Well, I mean, mistakes are human, right? So it's not like we can say nobody's ever going to make any mistakes, but I think that there's definitely questions that we can ask ourselves before from experience, right? And what we're doing here is experience sharing, and then you can better set yourself up for the right decisions. But at the end of the day, also being an entrepreneur is taking a little bit of risk and trying new things, and so we can't be that afraid of change. We need to try new things, fail fast, like they say, and build on that experience.
Oh, believe me, I'm the king of
And I know you know that.
I'm the king of mistakes and learning and spending money and trying. I also know from experience that as you age and mature a little bit, even the entrepreneur, it gets a little harder to make some of those decisions that are expensive
Yeah.
to try, because at some point, you're doing the life balance game of how much longer do I have and can I make it through that part to cover whatever I'm going to invest in. Right. So it's so important to make the right decisions. But wow. Yeah. Everything you said is so bang on. It's really, wow. Wow. Cool. Let me think of what else. So we bounced all over the place. Of course, everything I had written did not flow in that way. Never does. So now I'm all like, okay. So let me go here right to the end there. So where do you see finishing in automation in the next 3 to 5 years, and what's coming that printers aren't thinking about, aside from everything we just spoke about that they're not thinking about?
Well, in terms of automation, is just continuing in this direction. We're a software vendor, right? So we can automate what the hardware can automate, and what we see is definitely more and more possibilities in terms of what the hardware brings into the equation. So we're really excited about how we can make the imposition and finishing even smarter, and being able to capture even more variety of work, and automating this and the equipment as it gets smarter as well. And just that is like an immense challenge, and we see that it's going in the right direction. We also see in the market that we talked a lot about the resistance to change, but there are also a lot of customers who are automating today. And I've seen, some projects that are pretty cool. And when we're talking about end-to-end automation, I think there's some things happening that are very, very, very exciting. And we're really happy to be part of that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Just the thing is also we're in a very capital intensive industry. So, in all fairness to a lot of owners, it's a little scary at times, right? Because with the press comes some software. I mean, when I did a press, I put a press in that was oversized. Then I needed a new cutter. Then I needed a new CTP system. And it wasn't just, I want to get a press. I had to put an HVAC in. I had to, so it's, but it's good. But the automation thing is, yeah, I love the idea with the automation thing. I love the idea that you don't have to upgrade your manufacturing equipment so fast. You should look at updating your automation first, because if you could do that and it's 20 grand or 40 grand, but it's not 240 or 750,000, right? You're better off. I mean, like Windows 11 came out, I think I still haven't used everything in Windows 7, right? Because it just things are moving so fast, and most people don't use everything that they have within the toolbox.
That's true,
So
and that's true for a lot of users. And in fact, especially in our world where you set it and forget it, you rarely go back in and see what's there. So one of the things that we do is that we do regular webinars, which are practically training sessions to keep people up to date with what's new and what can they do with the software. Of course, it takes a little bit of time to join these webinars, but at the end of the day, it can help. We have actually, I was speaking to a customer not that long ago, and this customer said, thanks to your software, I was actually able to add new products to my production, which I wouldn't have been able to before. So yeah, I think also as a user, it's a responsibility of the vendor to train, but also it's a responsibility of the user to look and to be curious, say, what else can I do with this piece of software, and to join these sessions and learn from them. So
uh,
if we can work in partnership, I think we can achieve good things.
first of all, it has to be in partnership.
Yeah.
Any time, speaking as the buyer, that we buy something from someone and we don't have good support, well, first of all, you're out the door. You're never going to sell another thing, and that's not why anybody's in business to keep changing vendors or suppliers or customers. You want to go as far as you can with someone and make it right. And when it works well, just everybody lives a little better, right? When you're always on the hunt and you're always changing and you're always looking. I mean, listen, I had an afro when I started in print. Look what happened. I'm jealous you still have hair, but and it's also keeps you cold in the winter when you don't have to wear a hat all the time. But I think that's great.
But just
Cool. Oh my God.
one
Yeah.
last thing to say about
Yeah.
that, though,
Go
is
five more things.
but partnership is also very important for Ultimate Tech, and it's part of our philosophy to work in partnership with people using our software. And we're always one call away, one email away from listening to suggestions, getting feedback. And in fact, that's something that our customers and partners really appreciate about our company. And that's probably should be on your top 10 list also, is how accessible is the team at the company of the software I'm buying from. And I could say we have a good reputation in this area, and we want to maintain that. So
Yeah, no, and I think the support thing is when you're buying something and it's big and cumbersome of all different technologies and moving parts, the support is number one. And it should be at number one at the list, and you should hear from your vendors how committed they really are to you. And if they are committed and they're giving you all these boundaries that they play within, then what's the upside, and then what's the downside for them if they're not there when you need them? Because we're in a world that doesn't stop, and when a machine goes down, it's just that's when you talk about stress and anxiety in our world, right? Because the phone is ringing and everybody wants it, and everybody moving just in time. They used to say, customer would say, listen, if there's any problem, call us so we know right away and we could deal with it. The problem today is there is no time, because everything is in a rush. And the minute you get it, and if there is a problem and you call them within 4 hours of receiving the file, they're saying, well, you still got to make it happen because. So that whole thing of call us and let us know and work, doesn't work so well. So everyone has to be in the game, of the beginning of the project so that everything goes as fast as possible, because that's what we're all here. And
There's also preventive maintenance, right? That I think is really important. So there's the, and then you can see which companies will be more agile to support you when something doesn't go. Are they dedicating the time to help? Obviously, miracles cannot always happen. We have to stay realistic through the process, but there are still ways we can improve. So preventive maintenance, or preventive testing and enabling the workflows in terms of the technology, but you also have on the equipment, but also being able to work with a responsive team that can help. And in the strategy, it's always to try to find a workaround, and then the implemented solution in the future. But you have to have these strategies moving forward in order to make sure that the uptime is always optimal.
yeah, I think you have to be reactive to the customer, and I think you have to be proactive to the customer. Right? It's look at what is, and then look at where it's going. It's everything today really is about everybody working together.
I think so. I think so. And vendors should be proactive. Also, customers can be proactive. And I think when both are proactive, this is when you get the optimal result.
Yeah, and I just want to remind all the vendors in our industry that, like, the print owners, entrepreneurs, they have all the skin in the game. They're on the hook for everything they do. So don't pressure them so much to buy stuff in the last minute, like, because then they get excited. But it's because when you sign up for something and it's 5 years, it's 5 years. And if it doesn't work and it's not great, you're still doing it for 5 years, right? So I just want everybody to ask everybody all the right questions on both sides all the time. Think about longevity, think about the future, think about where you're going. It's not about the one sale today, right? Because that's not how business is done. For that, you go to the dollar store and get what you need every other day. Wow. An hour flew by already.
Look at that.
And you were worried about how long is this going to go. And I didn't even get to half of this stuff. But before we end it, final words to the people that are listening.
If you have any questions on anything that was said, any curiosity whatsoever, just call. Just call. Honestly, one conversation. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I'm just going to listen and make suggestions. And so don't hesitate. We're here to help.
Okay, and for everyone listening, I will tell you this. When I went to school and they said, ask any question you want, I never asked a question. I sat at the back of the class doing whatever I was doing. Fast forward 30 years, 40 years, I'm asking questions now. I wish I asked more questions then. So don't make the mistake of not asking questions. There's a benefit to everybody. Julie, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing everything. I think it was great. You'll get me the top 10 list, and I will definitely put it out for people. To everybody else, I hope you made it till the end. Please tell me you made it to the end. And if you made it to the end, go tell someone else that they should listen and stay till the end, because the best stuff happens at the end. Really, I hope you enjoyed what you heard. I'm always around. As always, if you want to be on, give me a buzz. If you're looking to learn something, let me know. I'll try to find it out. Otherwise, everybody have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Julie, thank you again.
Thank you.